Foch, French pronunciation, F, was the second Clemenceau-class aircraft carrier that served with the French Navy from 1963 to 2000. The carrier was the second warship named in honor of the Marshal of France, British Field Marshal and Marshal of Poland Ferdinand Foch. After serving with the French Navy, the vessel was sold to Brazil and renamed São Paulo. The Clemenceau-class aircraft carriers, of which Foch, now renamed and reflagged as São Paulo, is the last surviving member, are of conventional catabar design. The landing area is 165.5 meters, 543 feet, long by 29.5 meters, 97 feet, wide. It is angled at 8 degrees off of the ship's axis. The flight deck is 265 meters, 869 feet, long. The forward aircraft elevator is to starboard, and the rear elevator is positioned on the deck edge to save hangar space. The forward of 252 meters, 171 feet, catapults is at the bow out to port. The aft catapult is on the forward area of angled landing deck. The hangar deck dimensions are 152 by 22 to 24 meters, 499 by 72 to 79 feet, with 7 meters, 23 feet, overhead. The draft statute, prepared by the Naval General Staff in 1949, asked for 4 aircraft carriers of 20,000 tons to be available in 2 phases. At its meeting of August 22, 1949, the Supreme Council of the Navy was even more ambitious, where they proposed a 6-aircraft carrier fleet. On July 15, 1952, the French Navy still wanted 2 to 5 for the French Navy, not available to NATO. According to RCM 12, the final document of the Lisbon Conference of 1952, France should make available to NATO an aircraft carrier on D-Day, 2 on Day 30, 3 on Day 180. But from 1953, the Navy had to revise its ambitions downwards, with a target of 3 aircraft carriers. The PA-54 Clemenceau, budgeted in 1953, was delayed until November 1955. The PA-55 Foch, budgeted for 1955, was delayed until February 1957. Between 1980 and 1981, she underwent a study to certify the platform before catapulting aircraft, carrying missiles, bombs, AM-39 Exocet, and tactical nuclear bombs. Like her sister ship Clemenceau, Foch underwent a modernization and refit, replacing 4 of her 8 100mm, 3.9-in guns with 2 Crotel air defense systems. Unlike Clemenceau, Foch also received in 1997 2 Cédrille launchers, for 6 Mistral missiles each. Those launchers were purchased by France in 1994. The Dassault Rafale was test-flown from Foch, but not Clemenceau, after deck modifications in 1992 and operated from this carrier after further 1995 to 96 deck modifications. After a 37-year career in the French Navy, on November 15, 2000, the carrier was sold to the Brazilian Navy and renamed São Paulo. In the French Navy, she was succeeded by Charles de Gaulle, R91. Main naval operations for the epoch were conducted by the twin carrier Clemenceau. Foch was engaged in the following. 1966, Foch participated, with Alpha Force, French, Force Alpha, to the campaign of French nuclear experimentation in the Pacific. 1978, during the independence of Djibouti, Foch deployed in the Red Sea in Operation Saphir II. 1983, Foch participated to the support of the French contingent deployed in Lebanon within the cadre of the Operation Oliphant missions. The carrier would rotate with Clemenceau, providing constant on-station air support to French peacekeepers in the Multinational Force in Lebanon FSNB and the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon UNIFIL. 1993 to 1999, Foch was regularly engaged in operations Valbuzant, Salamandre, and Trident in the Adriatic Sea during the engagement of France in ex-Yugoslavia within the cadre of 4 Pronoc and the SFOR and 4. The carrier ensured the security of French elements deployed on the ground, and conducted aerial raids under the command of the United Nations and NATO. In 1977, F-8 Crusaders from 14th Squadron from Foch participated in the Saphir missions over Djibouti. On May 7, 1977, 2 Crusaders went separately on patrol against what were supposedly French Air Force, 411th Jura Squadron, F-100 Super Sabres stationed at Djibouti. The leader intercepted 2 fighters and initiated a dogfight as part of the training exercise, but quickly called his wingman for help as he had actually engaged 2 Yemeni MiG-21 fish beds. The two French fighters switched their master armament to on, but, ultimately, everyone returned to their bases. This was the only combat interception by French crusaders. In October 1984, France sent Foch for Operation Mermilon off the coast of Libya, in response to tension in the Gulf of Sidra. She was involved in the Yugoslav wars between July and August 1993, in February and March 1994, and in February and from May to July 1994 in support of UN operations. She also was part of NATO's Allied Force operations with superintendents flying strike missions over Serbia in 1999. She was forced to withdraw early 4 months into her deployment, the longest in her service history, due to problems with her catapult system and other issues. In 2000, Foch made her last deployment by leading Task Force 473 on a 4-month around-the-world tour. Foch was featured prominently in the 1995 film Crimson Tide as the setting for several televised news reports by American journalist Richard Valeriani, playing himself in the film, about the ongoing conflict in Russia. Foch was used in this role after the U.S. Navy refused to assist in the film's production, thus removing the possibility of filming on board a U.S. carrier. Foch also appears briefly in Tom Clancy's 1986 techno-thriller novel Red Storm Rising, forming part of a NATO task force which also includes the aircraft carriers USS Nimitz and USS Saratoga. In an attack by Soviet Tu-22M bombers, Foch is hit by 3 anti-ship missiles and sunk. Foch appears as a playable unit in the RTS game wargame, Red Dragon in the Second Korean War DLC. Warship International Staff, 1986. Question 2784. Warship International. XXIII, 3318. ISSN 0043-0374.